Well, it didn't take long, and just in time for Christmas, the tinfoil hats are being brought up. And once again, it is all based on the one thing that ties everything together every time. The PBE. That's right, even though there weren't any leaks yet, with the latest drops on PBE, Riot started setting things up for the Demacian season. And because all of this is happening right before everyone leaves for the holidays, Riot is setting things up slightly ahead of time. Which means that everyone started diving into the things that are found in the PBE client, which is accessible to anyone with a PBE account, but also people dove directly into the PBE files. That's where some of the juicier parts appeared. And yes, right now anyone can access those files too, with a little bit of practice, with some raw files and perhaps linking of code. Which is something you too can learn with today's sponsor. This has all been prophesized. We've been here before and we'll be back again. Just like every holiday season when people want to learn new things. Which is why Boot.dev is back again. This video is sponsored by Boot.dev. Have you ever thought, gaming is the most profitable industry in the world right now. Is there a way in without dealing with the layoffs? Why yes, there is! With the help of Boot.dev, you too can learn the good old classic backend development, which is still among the highest paying jobs in the industry. And the road to that position can be fun. With the help of Boot.dev, you can learn traditional coding languages such as C or Python, and you'll be able to do all of that while having fun. Instead of just following lessons, you're thrown into a big RPG problem, and your sword is your code. And with your code, you will slay beasts, get XP, collect loot, and you will join raids on community bosses. While practicing for the big boss fights, you can also hop into the training grounds, where Boot.dev can generate new, endless problems to solve. Meaning the knowledge you acquire is infinite. So don't wait and hop onto Boot.dev, where you slay mythical creatures, and where you can ask the Great Wizard Bear for his great wisdom on your RPG adventures. And while you do all of that, use the promo code Necrit to get 25% off of your first purchase if you choose the annual plan. With that, many thanks to Boot.dev for sponsoring this video, and now let's go back to traditional fantasy worlds. So, let's dive into everything new that popped up. But to have the right context, we need to also take a step back. In one of the previous videos, we talked about what's coming in the Demacian season. Specifically, we dove into the new Demacian Summoner's Rift that is up on PBE. We went through all the Easter eggs, which to be honest, there weren't that many. There is the Broken Spear of Xinjiao, there is also the throne and the crown of King Jarvan III, who should be alive as of the time of the story. But among all of those, I did happen to miss a detail which might be quite important. You see, I still didn't figure out what is that golden piece of armor. I am still convinced I've seen it somewhere in League of Legends. I still think it is like a very old ability icon of a champion or something. But what I completely missed is the sword right next to it. That is not a generic wooden sword. That is the sword of Cyria. Specifically, it is the version of the sword that she carries when she first stepped into the capital city of Demacia, which would be happening before the Mage Rebellion. AKA, it is roughly the time the Xinjiao storyline ended. So it is all working out pretty well. And the reason why this one is interesting is because it might actually be teasing what we're getting in the Demacian season. What if this sword is teasing the next champion? What if Cyria actually becomes playable? Well, you see, it wouldn't be the first time a new champion would be teased on the new map. In fact, technically, Yunara was teased through all the balls around the Spirit Blossom Summoner's Rift, and the LeBlanc ASU was teased through the cards and the roses before that. So who knows, either it is teasing that Cyria is gonna be part of the new story, or it is straight up teasing that she might become a champion. And what's interesting is that there is more that is connected to this. Specifically, we are talking about more PBE files. Although now we are talking about old game files which were found by Twisted. I have no idea how he dug it up, because I looked through the files and I found nothing. But yes, he did find links to Cyria. But this Cyria was marked as being a part of the new TFT set. That's right, specifically this is Cyria in set 16. The thing is, set 16 is happening right now and there is no Cyria. So what is this about? Well, from all the teasers before and after set 16 was released, we learned that the devs were planning with a lot of champions being part of this set, that is, on top of the 100 units we already have. Apparently they experimented with even more, meaning there is likely the chance that Cyria was one of these experimental units. And if you have a look at the circumstances, I kinda understand why Cyria didn't make it in. Because on top of this, there are also links to Cyria's abilities, where you can see that Cyria had multiple forms. There was a young Cyria and an adult Cyria, meaning that TFT actually paid attention to the way Cyria was set up in the story. Because at first we saw Cyria as a young lady entering the capital of Demacia. Then in the Turmoil story she grew up a little bit and she joined the military, after which we learned even more about her in the Garen novella. And Legends of Runeterra even gave us a future version of Cyria in the modern Demacia. So Cyria as a character is kinda all about the story progression, which is what TFT was likely trying to reference. However, my assumption is that a unit that has multiple forms would eat quite a lot of memory, which might be a problem in a set where you have 100 units that are already squeezing out every bit. So from the logistical side, it simply doesn't make sense to just shove Cyria in. However, even that is potentially linked to something else. You see, this wouldn't be the first time TFT and League shared the same reveal. The last time this happened was about a month ago, with Zahen coming both to League and technically to TFT at the same time. So could Cyria still be a champion in the new Demacian season? Well, technically yes, but given the circumstances of these PBE files, the chances are about 50%. So it's kinda like nothing happened. Which is where we can finally dive into the PBE files, and for the first time we will not even bring up skins. That's because we talked about all the skins already. So first of all, given the patching lineup, it seems like Season 1 will arrive on January the 8th. The reason why this is important is because this is also likely when we will get the new cinematic. Either it will also be up on the 8th or a few days before that. And once again, because Riot is setting everything up before the holidays arrive, they did make an oopsie and there are a few files on PBE that were not supposed to be there just yet. Mainly, we are talking about the banners for the new minigame. And if you have a look at the art that is shown here, I'm getting excited. If you're not sure what this is, we are essentially talking about a new game within a game, kinda like the Demon's Hand, which was essentially Balatro in League. And this time, the minigame looks a lot more board game-like. It could also be an RTS of sorts, or perhaps a strategy game. Though the important part is that here we are indeed in good old Demacia. And based on the aesthetics, it is a slightly earlier version of it, as expected, which you can tell by the buildings being partially wooden compared to the modern fully stone buildings. Also, the shot of the environment kinda reminds me of some of the shots from Mage Seeker. And on top of that, there is also a new asset for the Demacian currency, which is the Silver Shield. Now, I don't think a Demacian currency was ever mentioned before. And so, just like Piltover has the Cogs and Bilgewater has the Krakens, it seems like Demacia has the shields. And unfortunately, that's kinda all the links we have to the minigame for now. And so, the art looks really good, but we have no idea what kind of a minigame it really is. What we do know about, however, is some of the rewards. There are two icons that are linked to Demacia Rising, which is likely the name of the minigame, where on one side it is depicting the petricite trees, and on the other side it is good old early Demacia. And since the icons are focusing on gathering the trees and buildings, and so who knows, maybe it will be a building simulator like Farmville? Although there are also some new titles. There is one called Dauntless Demacian, which should be from the pass, but also there is the Honorary Crown Guard. And this one is interesting, because this one is from the chapter 2 of whatever will be happening, with the goal being defending Cyria. And if you paid attention to the last video, you would know that Cyria was an ancient city of Demacia. As in, we are talking about the old days of Kael and Morgana in it. So who knows? Maybe in this game we will play through Kael and Morgana fighting Aatrox. That would be cool. But technically Cyria can also be one of the modern cities, so it is really hard to guess where on the timeline this is happening. Although all of this is also connected to one more image. It is this image, which is a forest. But it all gets very interesting once you realize that this is CG. And so yes, while this will likely be used for the background of the League client, it does also look like a screenshot from the cinematic. But at the end of the day, yes, it is technically just a screenshot of a forest. So it's still not that exciting. Which takes us to the last part we can mention, which are the icons and emotes. So as part of all the emotes, we have a bunch of Demacians doing memes, with the Petricite Talia also being there, referencing Durant. Though what is interesting is that one of the characters at the top is Diana Crownguard, the aunt of Lux and Garen, who played a big role during, well, the entire rebellion technically. And so either this one is just a cool nod to the lore, or what if Diana is gonna be the next champion? What if there is room for more champions with massive shoulder pads? Anyway, there is also Pogger's Garen and Stonk's Jarvan. After this, there is also a bunch of icons for all the new skins. There is a unique one for Galio and Poppy, because Galio is Petricite and so the theme checks out. And Poppy was technically there for the foundation of Demacia, so there is a good chance they both might appear in the minigame. And for the very last thing, we do also have the Petricite banner. And that is it. That is it for all the files that were dropped onto PvE, and that is also it for all the speculations. Which means that now, as we head into the holidays, I leave it up to you. What are the chances of us getting Cyria as a new champion? And what are the chances of us getting Diana Crownguard? Also, what the heck is that piece of golden armor? Is there a chance we get a strategy game in League? I mean, well, let's be honest for a moment. League already made its own Balatro in the client. So now I'm just waiting for StarCraft 2 to happen.